are back with Liberal Dan YouTube channel, Liberal Dan Radio on YouTube, and I was playing around with my settings, and hopefully this has made it so that I will not have a poor connection at this point. We are still waiting on President Trump to give his news conference about the executive orders that he intends to be signing. One of those executive orders is expected to be one about the payroll tax and suspending or delaying the collection of the payroll tax. And what he does with that, how it's worded, or how at least I've seen it worded, seems to me like he's delaying it from coming into effect. So is he delaying it from coming into effect? That means that at some point later on, the employers will have to pay it, and that's a problem. But if he's just waiving it for now, if he has the authority to do so, and we'll see how he intends to explain his authority to do so, then it's still it's not as good as giving people just the money on up front. And here's why. First of all, it ignores people who are unemployed. So if you're not employed, you are not going to be getting any benefit from this. And there are a lot of people that are unemployed because of, this little thing that we have going around that's called the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's A problem. B, businesses are getting a much bigger benefit from this than employees are. An individual employee gets, pays part of their payroll taxes, and then the employer pays part of the payroll tax. Now, if you're self-employed like myself, then I do benefit more, but I don't judge my support for what this president, or any president does for that matter, on how it specifically impacts me. If I was just going to be selfish and just think about how it affects me, I'd be like, okay, I'm voting for Trump because I wouldn't care about anybody else and my taxes went down. But I'm not that type of person. That's not who I am. I would rather pay more in taxes than not have government crap on people, who can't, who are disenfranchised with voting, who are underprivileged, who need the help that they get. So there's that. So yeah, I would probably do better than, potentially, if I have work, I would probably do better than what than some other people would do. But again, it's not about me. It's about everybody, and we need to help everybody. And this doesn't help the unemployed. This doesn't help this helps a little bit the people who are employed, but it helps the employers much more, much more. So, so let's say if let's say $1 million. Let's say a company has $1 million of payroll taxes they would pay in a year. Let's just assume that, and 500,000 of those are paid by the employee, and 500 by individual employees. Add it all up, and then the other 500,000 is paid as a whole by the employer. So add it up. However many employees it is, you split that 500,000 up amongst all those little employees, and they get a little chunk of it. But then the employer gets the big chunk. So it's extremely and disproportionately would be helping an employer more than the employees. And don't tell me that it's going to be helpful to the people who are unemployed because, oh well, they'll just hire more. No, they're not going to just hire more. Businesses don't hire more people because they're altruistic. Businesses hire more people because they have more demand for the services or the goods that they produce. That's when they hire more people. So if my demand for the widgets that I create as an employer is for 100, I'm going to hire enough employees to produce 100 widgets. If I'm not going to now get a tax cut and say, oh, well, my taxes are now less, so I can afford to pay an 11th person. No. If I need 10 people to make those widgets, I'm going to only hire 10 people. If now, let's say each person makes 10 widgets per whatever time period we're talking about, now let's say my demand goes up to 110, then yeah, I'm going to hire an 11th person. It has nothing to do with whether or not I get a payroll tax cut or not. And again, some of that money will go into spending. Those employees will have more money to spend, but I don't think the employer is going to be spending more money. So we're better off, instead of doing this. And if you're in the chat, if you're listening live, say hey, write something in the YouTube live chat, and I'll respond to you. Anyway, if you give people a chunk of money, like they did at the beginning of the pandemic, and we should have been doing each month during the pandemic, they would then spend that money on things, and that would keep businesses afloat. That would be a good thing. But, and then, you had additional money that was being sent towards unemployment, $600 for unemployment, and you had some people who's like, well, I don't make that much regularly, so why not? Why are we rewarding people to stay home? Well, we're rewarding people for staying home because we have a pandemic and we want them to stay home. Now, should we have also given people money who have to go out there? Frontline workers, people who are like, real frontline medical workers, not the fake frontline doctors, I think one of which maybe worked in an ER that Donald Trump touted a while back. So if we were to, maybe we should give them extra money too, because they're out there doing riskier work. Yeah, absolutely. They should be paid more money. And if you need that money, that higher amount of money to survive during the pandemic, and you're not making that amount of money as your salary, then maybe that's something about your employer, and your employer isn't paying you enough. Maybe that's why we need to implement a higher minimum wage than just $7.50 an hour, but that's a whole other issue, and we can get into that too. But the other thing, again, I have like 3 different, I think, now uploads of this, because I was playing around with my connection and stuff, and I wanted to make sure that the connection was good according to YouTube. And so one of the things that was interesting that Donald Trump said yesterday, which was that he wants to sign an executive order that is going to prevent insurers from doing pre-existing condition clauses, from banning people, from preventing people from getting care if they have a pre-existing condition. That's been the law. That's been the law for 10 years now. That's Obamacare. That's the Affordable Care Act. So Donald Trump basically just said he wants to implement Obamacare after trying to fight Obamacare for the last 4 years. Unsuccessfully. Thank you, 3 Republican senators, for doing something right for a change. And if they really, and of course McCain passed away, but if those other 2 wanted to do something right, they could just, switch parties and make it so that, they're not backing the bad guys anymore. The Democratic Party is a pretty big tent. We have lots of different viewpoints. We go from Joe Manchin to Bernie Sanders. No reason we can't have a Collins in there, but, Collins wanted just for some reason remain a Republican, and for whatever reason that was, and now she's polling, I think, 5 points under her opponent. Doesn't mean she's going to win. Not at all. She could pull it off. You never know. Polling has been wrong before. But usually the experts are right. Even in 2016, the experts were right. Hillary Clinton did get the right amount of popular vote that she was estimated to get within the margin of error. She won the popular vote. Unfortunately, that's not how we pick presidents. And she won the popular vote by 2 million, and then lost the election by 70,000 votes in those states that matter, because unfortunately we have a system where states do matter and states don't matter. So, man, this president's a little late to the show here. What's going on here? Senor Presidente, why are you taking so long? You're making me have to come up with more clever things to say. And, well, I can blather on about many different things until he starts talking. I mean, there's how he continued to wish Ms. Maxwell well. Let's talk about my contest. We can talk about my contest for a second. Is it a contest? It's not really it's a fun. Well, okay, there is a contest and then there's a fundraiser. Let's talk about the contest first. There's not a contest yet. The contest will happen. You need to be a member of one of my groups, and that group is called "What in the Unseasoned Name of Karen Is This Caucasity?" And if you are a member of that group, and if we have 2,000 likes on my Facebook page, then I'm going to have a contest for the best unseasoned memes. So find a meme relating to the unseasoned Americans, be it food or otherwise, and I will pick my favorite 5, and then I will let the people in the group vote for a certain amount of time, and then the person who gets the most votes will get a $100 gift card to, I guess, whatever gift card things are available. We'll make it their choice. Now, I've done this before, so and I've had one winner already. We did this. It was the worst looking unseasoned food possible, and the one I thought would win because it looked terrible. So let's see. I think I have a child behind me in the hallway, maybe in the crack of the doorway. I don't know if that's true or not.
Of the United States.
Oh, here
Donald
we go.
J. Trump.
We finally have the press conference, so we can talk about it. If you want to listen to my oh look, it came out from behind the wall. Isn't that cute? Listen to my podcast Wednesdays 8 p.m. Central on Blog Talk Radio to hear about my contests. All right, here we go.
And good afternoon. My administration has been working around the clock in good faith
In good
to
faith,
reach an agreement
sure.
with
In good
Democrats on
Good faith.
additional
There is a
China
bill on
virus
McConnell's desk
relief. Already my
currently.
administration has
That bill's
enacted
been on the
over
desk
$3 trillion
that could have
in
been
historic relief,
negotiated.
saving many tens of millions of dollars in jobs.
Your
And you
administration
see how
hasn't
fast
done that.
The economy is coming back. It does
CARES
look
Act.
like it's going
Funds-
to be a very sharp V.
Funds
We have
funds come from
tremendous
the Congress, from the House.
enthusiasm, tremendous spirit, and tremendous job growth. We set a record on number of jobs in the last 3 months. It's the most
'cause-
jobs
That's
ever
because the economy
created
tanked
in
because
a
of the
3-month
virus.
period during a 3-month
He's taking
period.
credit
That's
for
great.
jobs
Before we
rebounding from
begin,
a
I've just
virus.
signed 2 bills that are
Ridiculous.
great for our vets. Our vets are very special.
bills.
We
So we
passed
signed
Choice,
2
as you
bills.
know, Veterans Choice and Veterans Accountability. And they've been trying to get that passed for decades and decades and decades, and no president's ever been able to do it, and we got it done, so veterans have choice, and now you have accountability that if you don't love your vets,
If it's
you're
a
in
law,
the
if
VA
it's a
and you don't love
bill,
the vets or take care of the vets, you
if
can
it's a-
actually get fired
If
you
it's
don't
a
do your job.
bill,
We want people
then
to
it came
love our
from
vets.
Congress, which means
The
it was
first
bipartisan. It's
expands
not
The
your.
eligibility for vets with blindness in both eyes. So we have an expansion of benefits, an expansion of various elements of being and working with the VA for vets with blindness and, in particular, blindness in both eyes. And we have a lot of problems with blindness in the VA, and we're doing something about it. They've been talking about this for many years.
Okay,
So that
fine.
is expanding eligibility for vets with
If
blindness.
this is a law,
in
though,
both
it's not
eyes,
all
okay?
you.
Second is, requires the VA to establish a treatment court program for vets who need treatment rather than punishment for certain non-violent crimes. And you know what that all means, and
You know
it's
what that
really
all
something
means.
that they've been trying to get done for a long time. The second requires the VA to establish a treatment court. So this is a treatment court program for vets who need treatment rather than punishment for certain non-violent crimes, okay? I think it's self-explanatory. We've wanted this for a long time. They've been trying to get it for a long time, and now we have it.
Maybe because we have a Democratic
And I want to
House.
thank everybody for helping us get that done. We had a lot of
Oh,
support.
he's
from a
thanking
lot of
everybody.
great
He's not
people,
just
including
taking
people in
credit
the
for
VA.
himself.
In the current negotiations, we have repeatedly stated our willingness to immediately sign legislation providing expanded unemployment benefits, protecting Americans from eviction, and providing additional relief
And
payments to
there's a bill
families.
sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk.
Democrats have refused these offers.
That
They
is
wanna
a lie.
negotiate.
There's a
What they really
bill
want
on
is bailout money for states that are run by Democrat governors and mayors, and that have been run very badly for many, many years and many decades, in fact. You know the states,
course, it's
everybody
political.
knows who we're talking about and what we're talking about. I don't think we have to go over it. But what the Democrats primarily want is bailout money. Has nothing to do with the China virus. It has nothing to do with
Nothing to do
anything that
with
we've been talking about over the
COVID-19.
last
I need a little
period of
binger
time.
again
They want
now.
to bail out
Ding!
states
Racist.
that have been
Ding!
badly
Racist.
managed by Democrats, badly run by Democrats for many years, and in fact, in all cases, many decades. And we're not willing to do that. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have chosen to hold this vital assistance
Nancy
hostage.
Pelosi had passed something in
on
the House.
behalf
It's
of
on the Senate's
very
desk. It's on
extreme
Mitch McConnell's
partisan
desk, you
demands
idiot.
and the radical left Democrats, and we just can't do that. So hopefully we can do something with them at a later date, but we're going to be signing some bills in a little while that are going to be very important and will take care of pretty much this entire situation
What bills? When are they going to be
as
passed?
we know it, and as you have been covering it, and in some cases actually covering it accurately. Many of the far-left policies they're pushing have nothing to do, again, with what we have been working on so hard, namely the corona.
Here it comes.
You can call it so many
Here it
different
comes.
names.
Here
What a
comes the race.
horrible thing China released upon the world. 1/3 of their bill, the HEROES Act, is spending completely unrelated money to the virus.
You want to spend $1
Here are
billion
just a few
on
of
the FBI
policies in
building,
their
you idiot.
extreme left bill. And again, this is a
$1
bill
billion for an
supported by-
FBI building. Has nothing to
Biden.
do with COVID-19.
And
Hypocrite.
Biden is totally
Hypocrite.
controlled now by the Bernie Sanders left wing of the party, and in fact, he's gone further left than Bernie Sanders ever dreamt of going. So obviously, other than Bernie have brought him left.
Somebody
If you
please
look
give
at
this
the
president a
manifesto
drug
that they've
test.
agreed to, it's far further left than I've ever heard anything about Bernie Sanders. The massive taxpayer bailout of badly run blue states we talked about. That's one of the things they're looking to do. Measures designed to increase voter fraud. Banning voter ID. They want to ban voter ID. We should have voter ID in every state. Every state should have voter ID. You have ID
There
on
are
everything you
countries like
do
Mexico that
practically.
have-
Every-
oh, here we
Everybody has
go.
voter ID. Everybody has ID, except for voters. When you vote, you don't want ID. They
If
don't
you
want it.
put
We
a
have some states
clean
where it
voter
works out
ID
great.
law, people
And if you
wouldn't
want to
have a
stop
problem with
fraud
it.
in elections, have voter ID. They want measures designed to increase voter fraud, which is banning voter ID in all states and banning requirements for
I
signature
just, we'll need to see
verification
that.
in federal elections. Now, why would they want, in this bill, which really has nothing to do with what we're talking
This has
about,
nothing to do with, well, of course it has nothing to
stimulus,
do with what you're talking about.
something banning voter ID in every single state, they want
I
to
want
ban
to
it,
see that
including states
legislation. I
where
want
we
him
already
to
have it.
show
'cause
us
we
the
have some states where
legislation,
we have it.
the wording of the
Indiana
legislation
and others.
that says that we
very
want to
well.
ban voter ID.
Why would
That's
they want to ban
ridiculous.
voter ID in all states? And why would they want
The voter
to
ID
ban
laws
requirements
contain
for
non-ID
signature verification
provisions.
in federal elections?
Non-ID provisions
would
that
want
disenfranchise black
A
voters
bill
specifically.
banning signature verification? What's that all about? You know what it's about? Fraud. That's what they want, fraud. They
You know
want
what
to try and steal
Republicans
this
want?
election.
Republicans want
Because
to
frankly, it's the only way they can
remove
win the
voters from
election.
the voting list, and that's the
The
only way
bill
they
also
can win is
requires
by
all
preventing
states to do
legitimate voters from
universal
casting
mail-in
ballots.
balloting, which nobody's prepared for, regardless of whether or
This is,
not
again,
they
we're
have the
Americans,
infrastructure.
not Americans, so we can do it
They
if we
want to
put our minds to it.
Steal an election, that's all this is all about. They want to steal the election.
No, you want to steal the election.
So,
You
in
wanna
the
be able
bill,
to
they have a bill that
Kick black
requires
people
all
off the
states
rolls.
to
I'm
do
sure you're going to have Florida
universal
doing it.
mail-in
You're not
balloting,
complaining about Florida's universal
regardless of whether or not
mail-in balloting
they
or
have the
whatever mail-in balloting
infrastructure.
you can do in Florida.
Like in Nevada, it's such a disaster. Their infrastructure is a total disaster. They don't want to have signature
This has nothing to
verification,
do with what any executive
don't wanna
order is
have
having to do with.
any of the safeguards that
COVID-19.
you need. And they don't want to have safeguards that are so common and so basic, and even other states that we disagree with have. This Nevada thing is a mess, but we'll see how the courts determine, what the courts determine. But they certainly don't have the infrastructure in Nevada, so we'll see how it is. As you know, we brought suit last week.
He is just
I will see how
blathering
that all
on,
works out. I think we're gonna win it.
blathering on.
But basically, what they're trying to do with all of these requirements, including no signature verification, they're trying to steal an election. And I was in Ohio, I was in Texas, I was in Florida over the
You're
last 4
trying
or
to steal
5
the election.
days.
You're trying to prevent
If you would see
legitimate
the
voters
crowds
from voting.
along the highways and the roadways, people have said they've never seen anything like it. And they haven't seen anything like it, and the press doesn't report it, because they're fake news.
Fake news.
They even
Fake
want
news.
to
That's one
force
of his
states to
Hitlerisms.
implement the
Lügenpresse. Look it
controversial
up.
practice
Lügenpresse.
known as ballot harvesting, very dangerous practice, meaning they would allow Democrat Party operatives to deposit thousands and thousands of completed ballots at the post office without any verification of
Are
who
they talking
filled
about
them out,
completed ballots or completed
including
ballot
a verification of
applications?
signatures on the ballot. So you're not even going to have a verified signature.
talking about
Anybody, I
ballots
could
or
sign it,
ballot
you could sign it,
applications?
anybody in this room
That's
could
the
sign it.
difference. When he was having
And
his
that's gonna count as a
interview
vote.
with Axios,
How can you do a thing like
he
this?
was complaining about all
So
these
this
things,
is
and
what
they were
they're
talking about the
asking for. This
applications
is
to
what
get
Nancy
the
Pelosi
ballots.
and crying Chuck Schumer are asking for. Okay, that's ridiculous. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing. The Democrat bill includes stimulus checks for illegal aliens. So if you were able to get into our country illegally, and our border is, as you know, doing very well right now. We have a very strong border, and the wall is up to
Of course, we have a
276
strong border.
miles.
It's great,
And we'll
but
be
there's still
completed
illegal
with it
people here
around the
because
end of the year.
can't call them undocumented.
Some
I have to
extra
call them
mileage in
illegal
certain
because I'm
areas that
racist.
People didn't realize
Ding.
were so bad, so we'll be completed with it right after. We're going to do the additional mileage. We'll do it probably a little bit after the year. I think from what I've
Well,
heard,
after the year, sure. Doesn't want
Joe
to do
Biden,
anything.
Sleepy Joe, wants to rip the wall down. He wants people to pour
Maybe
into
we
our
should.
country. They want to have open borders. We don't want to have open borders. So the Democrat bill includes stimulus checks for illegal aliens. They require the mass release of illegal aliens from detention. They also compel the mass release
I mean, there are
of
people who cross the
inmates,
border, and you have to do
including
so.
serious felons.
You have to cross the border in order
How do you
to
like that
do an
one?
asylum claim.
And this is in the bill that we're talking about. What does this have to do with stimulus, the economy?
What does your FBI building
does
have
this
to
have
do
to do
with
with the
the
coronavirus?
economy? What is your
With the
your
man-
FBI
what does
building
this
that you
have to
want to
do
have?
with
What,
this?
$1 billion to build
So
an
think of
FBI
that.
building or
They
whatever? Or
require
however
the
much
mass
spending you're
release of
spending on
illegal
that
aliens
FBI
from
building?
detention. What does this have to do with what we're trying to do? They want to put this in. This is a radical left policy, so they can go
Then
to Portland and
negotiate
try
it
and
out of the
rip
bill.
the place apart that they've been doing for many
Negotiate.
years.
That's how
and
things.
they've
That's
been
how you.
doing for
That's the art of the
years and
deal. You're
years.
supposed to be the
They
artsman
also
of the deal,
compel the mass
supposedly.
release of inmates. What does this have to do with what we're talking about? This is Nancy Pelosi, crazy
If
Nancy.
we have people in
and Chuck
jail that
Schumer.
have done
They want
nonviolent
to
offenses, then maybe we
compel
shouldn't
you
have
to
them
do
in
this
jail.
stuff. And this
to
has
put
nothing to do
the
with what
people who
we're
work at
talking
those jails
about.
at
And
risks.
it
That's something
includes
having to do with
serious
COVID-19.
felons. They want to have these
Serious
people
felons, like people
released
who
on a
like,
mass
sold dope,
basis, including serious
people who
felons.
sold marijuana,
That's
sold
page
other drugs.
1,689,
Oh, we
page
gave a page number.
1,762. Think of that. 1,762, and that's nowhere near the end of their bill. They have things in there that nobody has
he's
even had the
actually
time
said
to
that
look
there's
at
a
or
bill.
read.
So wait, I thought they were.
These people, I
They put that
honestly
bill
don't believe
in
they
the
love
Senate.
our country. You want to know the truth?
If you, what?
In addition to demanding
believe
these
they live in the
extreme
country?
partisan provisions, Democrats are actively blocking the following measures. Support for K-12 schools to help them safely open. Additional funding for the
They
Paycheck
can't
Protection
safely
Program
open, especially in
to
many
help
areas,
millions of workers on the payroll.
because it's not safe to open.
These are great programs, very successful.
The payroll
A lot of
process.
businesses
I've talked
open.
about
That's
this
why
at the
we're doing
beginning.
so well
There's
in
no reason
reopening our
the
country.
payroll
Additional money for hospitals, testing, and
tax
vaccines.
only helps
Direct
the
payments
businesses.
of
It helps the
$3,400
employees a
for
little
a
bit.
family of four.
What's
now
wrong?
remember, this is what
3,400 for a
the
family of
extreme
four.
partisans. We have to. This
we
is
want
what we're
people to have
talking
money to
about.
spend when we're telling them to
Democrats
stay
are
home during a
actively blocking
pandemic.
The things that we want, and what we want is good for people. These are things that they're
No,
blocking.
it's a handout to business.
Support for K-12 schools so they can open. Think of that.
They shouldn't be opening. It's too
Also,
risky.
direct payments of the $3,400 for a family of four plus. Then funding for child care and mental health care. And you need that, especially when you have so much of a lockdown. You need that, mental health care. Funding for broadband, airports, and agriculture, rental assistance, and support for community banks and credit unions to help them provide $100 billion in loans to
Is he
the
talking
hardest
about the Democrat
hit
bill, or is he
communities,
talking about what he
including
wants
rural
to do?
communities and farmers. They don't want
Because I'm sure
anybody to
if
get that.
Democrats
Democrats are
would have that in their
obstructing all
bill.
of it.
I'm sure
Therefore,
that would be in their
taking
bill.
executive action. We've had it.
Oh, here's the executive action.
And
Let's
we're
go.
going to save American jobs and provide relief to the American workers that I'll be signing these bills in a very short
They're
period
not
of time.
bills, they're executive orders.
First one is I'm providing a payroll tax holiday to Americans
Holiday.
earning less than $100,000 per year.
Payroll
In a
tax
few moments, I
holiday.
will sign a directive instructing
means
the
you won't have to
Treasury
be paid
Department
back.
to allow employers to defer payment
But that's
of
deferred
the
payments.
employee portion of certain payroll taxes from September 1st. And we're actually going to
So
be
it's
making
deferred.
that.
Is it a
We just got
holiday
the
or is it
word. We're
deferment?
just getting some word from a lot of people. We didn't think we'd have to do this because we thought the Democrats would be reasonable, but they've been not only unreasonable, they've been ridiculous. So we're going to make that August 1st, most likely. It'll be August 1st. We'll let you know the
Is
exact
it
date.
deferred or is it a
We're looking
holiday?
like
Which
August
one is
1st.
it?
So it'll be August 1st through the end
This
of
is not a bill. This is an
2020.
executive order. Someone needs
This will
to go,
mean bigger
go
paychecks for
show
working
Donald
families
Trump's
as we
Schoolhouse
race
Rock.
to produce a vaccine and eradicate the China virus once and for all. And we're doing very good with the numbers. You see it's going down in Arizona very, very substantially and rapidly, going down in California, going down in Texas, going down in Florida. Other areas are propping up a little bit, but we're watching them very closely. We understand the disease, and we're watching them very closely, especially our senior citizens and our senior citizens' residences.
Senior
If I'm
citizens'
victorious on
residences.
November 3rd, I plan to forgive these taxes and make permanent cuts.
Ah,
to
there
the
you
payroll
go.
tax.
He's
I'm gonna
got.
make them all permanent.
Ah,
Now,
he's gonna. It's a
Joe
it's
Biden
a
and
deferment,
the
but he's not gonna
Democrats
forgive it
may
unless
not want
he's
that. They
elected.
don't want that because
So
they're
he
adding
wants
$3
to.
trillion
That's
in
so
tax.
such a mafia
So
type.
they'll have the
Oh my
option
God.
of raising everybody's taxes and taking
He
this
is
away.
going to
But
not.
if I win,
he's
I
he's
may
only
extend
going to.
and terminate. In other words,
He's
I'll
only going to
extend it beyond
forgive
the
them
end of the
if he
year and
wins.
terminate
He's
the
not going to
tax.
do it beforehand. He's only
And so
going to
we'll see
forgive
what
it if he
happens.
wins. If
Biden
he loses, he doesn't give a
Probably
crap.
won't be doing that. You'll have to ask him. I
Wow.
don't think he knows
Wow.
what he's doing.
Wow. I mean, how could these people...
Second, I'm signing an executive order
I would offer
directing the
you can't
Department of
refuse. If
Housing
you
and
don't vote
Urban
me in, I'm
Development,
going to just make you
HHS,
pay
and
everything
CDC,
that I deferred.
to make sure renters and homeowners can stay in their homes.
Bending everyone
So
over,
I'm
folks.
protecting
This is
people
what Donald
from
Trump...
eviction. Yet you've been hearing a lot about eviction, and the Democrats don't want to do anything having to do with protecting people from eviction. I said, let's do that separately. That could be a totally separate thing from passing
what?
along money so people can live. And they didn't even want to protect people from eviction, so they would get evicted. It's not their fault that this virus came into our country. It's China's fault, and came into the world. By the way, a lot of the people, a lot of the states
Racist.
that were doing the best are having some
I'm going
problems.
to implement
A lot
that.
of the
I'm
states
going
that
to
we
try
weren't
and
thinking
program
were
that
doing
and
the
make
best are doing
make
very
some
well.
little counter that goes ding
You look
every
at some
time
of the countries
Donald Trump
involved,
tells
some
a
of the
racist
countries that
racist
were
thing.
really
It'll be like
standing out
right
as examples
over
are
here
now
somewhere. Like
exploding, but they'll get it down. They understand it. We're dealing with them. We're dealing with a lot of countries. We're providing thousands and thousands of ventilators all over the world right now. We make a lot of ventilators. We've started off with very little, and we're making a lot. And we have thousands in our stock.
I'm going to have a
We're making
rant.
thousands a month.
I might have to do a Fat
And
Man
we're
rant
providing
later
many of
about
them,
this, even though
thousands
I've already
and
ranted about it
thousands to
here,
other
but
countries
I'm
that
going to have to
would
make a
never be
Fat
able
Man
to
rant.
get 'em. The Department of Housing and Urban Development will also provide financial assistance to struggling renters and homeowners and work with landlords and lenders to keep Americans safely in their
How about we
homes.
just
So we
implement
don't
a
want
freeze?
people being evicted, and the bill, the act that I'm signing will
Do a freeze.
solve that
Give a
problem
subsidy to every American
largely,
family so
hopefully,
that the people who
completely.
are
The third action I'm taking today will
Ridiculous.
also provide additional support for Americans who are unemployed due to the China virus. Under the CARES Act, I proudly signed expanded unemployment benefits into law. Congressional Democrats have stonewalled our efforts to extend this relief.
they have not.
They even opposed measures that would give bonuses to workers returning to the job. They were totally opposed to that.
I'm
For this
sure.
reason, I'm taking action to provide an additional or an extra $400 per week in expanded benefits, $400.
Under what authority does he have to do this?
So that's generous, but we want to take care of our people. Again, it wasn't their fault, it was China's fault.
Oh, it's
States
your
will
fault
be asked
for
to
not
cover
reacting to it like
25%
you
of the
should have.
cost using existing funding, such as the tens of billions of dollars available to them through the Coronavirus Relief Fund. Under this plan, states will be able to offer greater benefits if they so choose.
If
And the
they so
federal
choose.
government will cover 75% of the cost. So we're all set up. It's $400 per week.
And what guideline?
doing
What
that without the
law allows you
Democrats.
to do
We should have
this?
been able to do it very easily with them, but they want all of these additional things that have nothing to do with helping.
And you want your FBI building.
Fourth, I'm signing a directive providing relief to student loan borrowers. Earlier this year, we slashed student loan interest rates to 0. I don't know if people know that because the press doesn't ever report it, but maybe they're watching now.
Dying press.
The press doesn't report a lot of good things that are good for the people and good
Is
for
it
the
going to
country.
stay 0%
Earlier
permanently?
this year, we slashed student loans, interest rates to 0%.
You slashed student
and
loans,
suspended student loan
interest
payments,
rates.
and
I
Congress
pause there.
extended that policy through September 30th. Today, I'm extending this policy through the end of the year, and we'll extend it further than that, most likely, right after
As long as I get elected.
December 1st. So we look like we're going to
Wow.
be extending that.
Just-
They're paying
I
0
still
interest.
can't believe that.
And again, not their fault that their colleges are closed down, and not their fault that they're unable to get what they bargained for. Through these 4 actions, my administration will provide immediate and vital relief to Americans struggling in this difficult time. And the beautiful thing about this difficult
The
time
beautiful
is we're
thing.
now coming back
The
and
beautiful
setting
thing about
records.
this difficult time, this
We'll
so
also
beautiful.
ensure
We're
that
coming
our
back. No, we're
economic
not.
comeback continues full speed
2,000
ahead.
deaths yesterday.
And with the $400
2,000
and
deaths.
all of
We're
the
not
other
coming
measures
back.
that we're talking about,
More
we'll be
people are
signing
dying
in a
than
little
ever.
while. That will happen. We're further looking at additional tax cuts, including income tax relief,
Which doesn't help the
income tax
unemployed.
cuts, and capital gains tax cuts.
Oh,
we're gonna be looking
boy.
at that capital gains for the purpose of creating jobs,
Yeah.
and income tax
Yeah.
is self.
I talked about that before too.
explanatory.
How are
And income
capital
tax
gains
for
taxes going to create jobs?
Middle income and lower income people, but middle income people, because they pay a lot of income tax, and you do have tax inequality. I'm saying that as a Republican, and you do have tax inequality. So we're going to be looking at income tax, and we're going to be looking at capital gains tax cuts on both, and maybe substantial.
That's so going to help
And
the
we'll
working
be reporting
Americans
back
who are
fairly
struggling right
shortly
now.
on that.
All the
That's,
capital gains taxes are
big
so going to
news. That's
help
big
us.
news, but very important.
Ooh.
We want to have our jobs flourish. We want to have our companies do great. We want to have the 401Ks, which are now at a level, if you look at the stock market, it's great. If you have stocks in NASDAQ, you're higher than you ever were, including, even this is still during the pandemic, the stock market, because they see such incredible things happening, smart people. The stock market is at
Such an
almost
idiot.
an all-time high. We're just short of it, and NASDAQ is higher than it ever was. It's broken the record 14 times in the last couple of months. So 401Ks are doing fantastically. I hope you kept your stocks. I hope you didn't sell. I hope you had confidence in your president and
I'm
confidence
sure
that
there was a
your
lot of
president
selling
was
going on. A lot of
gonna
people
be
manipulating the
reelected. And I will
markets.
tell you this,
A lot of people manipulating the markets.
the biggest tailwind, the biggest problem that we have with respect to
People sold
stock
and then,
market,
and then it tanked
which
and then
is
they
not
bought them up because that's what
much of a problem
people who
because
are
it's
super
doing so
wealthy can
well,
do.
but it would be actually much higher, is the possibility that these radical left Democrats could win. And if they win, we're going to have a crash. We're going to have a terrible problem.
if they win, we're going to
Because
have
they're going to raise taxes, $3 trillion worth of taxes. And that's going to affect everybody from middle income to upper income to jobs to companies. Your 401Ks will go down like a rock. Your stocks will go down like a rock. You know, and don't forget, these big companies, you have stocks
The
in these
401ks will go
You own
down
stocks.
like the people I pay
and they have
millions of
millions
dollars
and
of hush
millions
money to.
shareholders. And whether it's pension funds or anybody else, you all have stocks. So they're big companies, but a lot of people own that stock, and we want to keep it going. But we do have, I guess you could say, not a tailwind, it's a headwind, I guess would be a better description, but it is, it's a headwind. And when you think of it, that's, in my opinion, it would be much higher, but you look at what they want to do. They want to raise everybody's taxes, everybody. And they want to do the Green New Deal, which will decimate our country and decimate, it's ridiculous too, it's childish. I actually
Is he
say
saying
the
that,
Green New Deal
that
is
under him that
childish.
he's going to have a headwind?
It's for children, it's not for adults. Anybody that believes in that is,
Did he literally,
I
did he
don't
talk
know,
about
maybe
his
it's
thing?
politics. I don't even
Describing
think
it as a
it's good
headwind? I
politics.
really,
They seem to think so.
I need
We'll
to
see how
replay
they
that
do.
one. Oh my God.
But I don't think
If
it's
that's
good
true,
politics, that
wow.
it'll decimate our economy. We've learned a great deal about this virus and how to treat it. Our strategy is to aggressively shield those at the greatest risk while allowing younger and healthier citizens to safely resume work and school. I notice that some of the Democrats that I would say are very strongly on the left are now coming out and saying we really have to open our schools for the good of the economy. I was shocked to see a couple of them. You know who they are. We urge all Americans to socially distance and avoid large crowds and all of the things that we talk about all the time. We have to
All the things that the
we
scientists.
have to go and make sure that everything's in good shape. We really
There
are.
you go.
We're coming back very, very strong. We're doing very well with the virus because all of those states that everybody thought would be in a bad position for a long time, they're all coming down. Governors have done a great job. Don't forget, we're dealing with governors. Some have done a fantastic job. All have worked hard. Some have done a
So now
much
he's
better
kissing
job
people's
than others.
asses,
And someday,
even
if
though-
you'd like to know, I'll give you the good ones and the bad ones. We'll give you some good ones and some bad ones. But by contrast, the
DeSantis and
never-ending
Kemp, those are the
lockdown
bad
being
ones.
proposed by some,
Because
mostly.
those are the states that
I
are
guess
having
you could
lots of
almost say
problems.
almost all in the Democrat Party would
Almost
inflict
all.
unimaginable harm to our people and to our health for decades to come. It'll hurt our economy, and they view that as a good thing. They actually view that as a good thing because they're
No.
interested in one date, November 3rd. And I actually think it's bad politics, and I think they're starting to come along because I'm seeing more and more people want to open up, and you see the devastating results of
People are
lockdowns,
impatient
too.
about opening up,
You know, you have
but they don't want to open. Most
depression,
people don't want to open up if
suicide,
it's too
drugs,
early.
and alcohol.
And most people don't trust
And
you with your advice.
Bad marriages that were very good turn out to be very bad. It's an amazing thing. and
You
it's,
would be
I
the
don't think
expert
it, but
on bad marriages.
People get married for
I
20
will
years, I
give
guess they
Donald
didn't know
Trump
each other
that.
very well,
He
and
is
now
the
they're not getting
expert
along.
on bad marriages.
And you had the opposite also. You've had
Without
people
a
that
doubt.
get along better. They like each other more than they thought. That's okay too. That we like. But the other situation is very, 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 very bad. We'll develop a vaccine. We're going to have it very soon. and
Very
we're ready
soon.
to distribute it.
You
and,
stated what,
we're-
November 3rd? Is that
we've
the
got
date
the
we're going to have it?
military ready. Logistics, it's called. And we'll end this pandemic, and we will rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world.
I thought we were already
You know,
rebuilding. I
created
thought we
the
were
greatest
record setting
economy in the history of the world, the highest stock market
off of the back of the Obama
ever.
years.
And we're very close to getting that back. And that, I have to say, is way ahead of schedule. Highest stock market ever, best
And then as we
employment
continue to
numbers
rush
for
it back
African
prematurely,
Americans, Asian
more Americans are going to
Hispanic
die.
Americans. And by the way, Hispanic Americans just set a record for new jobs. African Americans just set a record for new jobs just now, during the pandemic, the last month. And Asian Americans just set a record for new jobs. So we're very proud of what's happening, and I will
I'm
now sign
sure.
the executive action, and then if you want, we can ask a few questions, okay, Kelly? Yeah, let me do this first, and then you can.
Oh boy, are we going to use the 17 pens? Let's see. Well, there's 4 books. Is there 17 pens? Oh no, there's only 1 pen. I guess that's a good thing
Okay,
'cause you can't
so
get the
this is
corona
for the authorization
by using 1 pen, or it's less likely to
Assistance
spread
Program, Major
corona.
disasters declaration related to the coronavirus disease.
Here's this big awkward signature. I don't understand how that's Donald Trump. Oh, we got show it off now. Look. Look at this. Look at this. I can write. I have the ability to write on paper. We will keep it open while he does the signatures. And I really need to. I'm gonna check back because I'm over the recording of
So
this
is
and see if he really said that his was a headwind.
authority
The headwinds were relating to what he wanted to do.
This is
Because
the
he was like, they
employment
say it's a tailwind, but it's
relief
really a
during
headwind.
the
If he
COVID-19
says that,
pandemic.
if that's what he said, wow. Just, wow. I mean, I would think that
This is fighting
somebody,
the
you
spread
know,
of COVID-19
obviously he's
by
not
providing assistance.
great
to
at
renters and
business. He's
homeowners
many
with,
failed
assistance.
businesses. But you'd think for somebody who is a business president that he would understand the difference between the tailwinds and headwinds when it comes to financial stuff. But
And this is,
I thought I heard that, but I want to go back and double check it
obligations.
before
This is your payroll
I
tax
go all in
obligations,
on
which
it,
we're gonna
because
and
maybe I
eliminate
misheard it. And
obligations.
unlike Trump and conservatives, many conservatives, I should say, in general, who refuse or who are incapable of admitting that they were
Pictures can you take?
incorrect about something.
I mean, you're taking
I-
hundreds
If,
of
if,
pictures.
if I'm wrong, if I heard it wrong, I will gladly say I
will,
heard that
I
wrong
will.
and he was talking to
So,
somebody else's actions as headwinds.
That's the story?
I will
Would anybody
be
like to-
glad.
Would anybody,
Oh, well, there was 4 pens.
would anybody?
Ooh, give me the
Why don't
pen.
we hand
give me
these,
the
we'll hand
pen.
these out to you in the back, okay.
The pen is mightier. Let's see, questions now.
Well, if they don't, they don't. That's up to them. But
If they don't, they don't.
That's gonna
So
be their
there's- so
problem.
there's-
I don't think their people will be too happy. They have the money, so
They
I
have
don't
the
think their
money.
people will be too happy. But if they don't, they don't. But again, the
If they don't,
states
they
have
don't.
the money. It's sitting
It
there.
is what it
Like
is,
Kelly.
as Herr Trump said.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not a hardship. This is the money that they need. This is the money they want, and this gives them a great incentive to go back to work. So this was much.
But if they
more
can't
than
go back
was
to work because their
originally
job's
agreed.
not in
The
existence
600
at the
was a
moment,
number that was,
because
there.
their businesses are
And as
closed,
you know,
because
there
we
were
have to
diffi-
keep
there
them
was
closed
difficulty
because
with
of
the 600
the
number because it
COVID-19
really was a
pandemic.
disincentive. Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah, okay. It helps people greatly. It helps our
It helps
country get
businesses
back.
more than it helps people.
And anybody that would say anything different, I think is very foolish. Everybody wanted it. By the way, the Democrats want it, the Republicans want it. They just couldn't get it, they just couldn't come to an agreement, but everybody wants it. And the very important thing is the people want it, and the people need it,
The
actually.
people as in the business
Yeah.
owners, not the people as in the employees.
Well, the answer is yes, but we have money to do other things. We have a lot of money that was unspent, and we'll be able to do things with the money that was unspent. We have significant money that was unspent, and we will be able to use
Well,
that
why was
for
it
different
unspent?
purposes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
When will this relief get in the hands of Americans that need it? What date?
We think it's going to be very rapid. We want it to be very rapid.
We
It's going
think
to be
it's gonna be very
distributed in a
rapid.
way that, whichever the fastest way, there are various methods, and
So,
it will be rapid.
non-committal on date.
Also expecting legal challenges with this, right?
I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. What I said is people can do whatever they want. I guess maybe they'll bring legal actions, maybe they won't, but they won't win. They won't win.
And legal action is brought against you on this. Why not just work with Congress on this deal?
Well, I'm not saying they're not going to come back and negotiate. They might very well come back and negotiate.
Signing an executive order
How about you be a leader and come
Very
forward?
soon. They're going to see it very soon. Look, it's,
Be a
there it
leader.
is, right there. Excuse me. There it is, right there. Go ahead. Oh, I don't think so. I think this is going to go very rapidly through the courts. This will go very, if we get sued, maybe we won't get sued. If we get sued, it's somebody that doesn't want people to get money, okay? And
No,
that's not
or
gonna
maybe
be a
it's
very
somebody
popular
who
thing.
maybe it's somebody who doesn't feel that you have the authority to do this, and you spending this money is
No.
illegal.
No. You ever hear the word obstruction? They've obstructed. Congress has obstructed. The Democrats have obstructed
That's
people from
rich.
getting desperately
That's
needed
rich.
money. Go ahead, please, right here. No, you're finished. Go ahead, please. Please.
Well, how can you have fans
Go
at a
ahead.
press conference?
Okay, excuse me. Go ahead, please.
It's a false statement, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Oh, Lord. And that is the end of that. So, again, we're going to roll back the footage and we're going to see what happened to be said. I think it was around 35 minutes into it. So, probably go ahead and stop the recording. And I don't know. We'll do that later. I'll check that out later. But just some interesting, again, as what I said, the payroll tax cuts helps the businesses more than it helps the workers, and there's no reason that we should believe that the workers are going to in any way see more employment because of these, or that the business owners are probably just going to sit on this money because of the uncertainty that takes place of having Donald Trump as president during a pandemic. That's what they're going to do with that money. They're not going to hire more people unless there's more demand for their goods and services. You know how you get more demand for goods and services? You go out and you give the money to the people and let it flow up instead of trickle down, because trickle down is a myth. Supply side economics is a farce. Anyway, thank you very much for those who watched this live. If anybody wanted to go ahead and you can leave comments after the fact if you so desire. I will leave this up as in one of my live reaction playlists. Also, if you want to go ahead, there's many ways that you can support the show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video. If you, go to YouTube Facebook.com/LiberalDan, like me over there. At Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter. There's the blogtalkradio.com/LiberalDan. You can get a free account there and subscribe to the show there. There's anchor.fm/LiberalDan. You can listen to the minicast that I have over there. Should be coming out with some more of those soon. And you can ask me questions there that I'll answer on the minicast. And if you want to support the minicast and or the podcast, you can do so by becoming a Liberal Dan Radio Patreon, patreon.com/LiberalDan as well. So until the next live stream or the next broadcast or whatever, again, be safe, mask up, stay socially distanced, and stay healthy, and have a good rest of your weekend.